Thank you for being with us today for this, your daily 180 Bible study. We're looking at James chapter 1, 13, 14, and 15, and talking about understanding temptation. Look at verse 14 and 15. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. It is the idea of a lure, drawing us away. And then he goes on in verse number 15. Then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. So you see that progression that is involved in sin. Over in Romans chapter 7, I want us to look at a verse, and there's a primary application, which is the intent of the passage, and then there is a secondary application as well. I want you to listen to Romans chapter 7, beginning at verse number 17. Paul says, "For what I am doing, I do not understand. For what I will to do, that I do not practice. But what I hate, that I do." Now, the primary application here in this passage, and perhaps someday in the future we'll talk about this, Paul is talking about living under a system of self-justification. And when you're living under a system of self-justification, when you have to be good enough, you'll never be good enough. And it makes a person neurotic. It makes a person crazy. But there is a secondary application. And the secondary application is the fact that we all struggle with sin. That's the reason why we need grace. We need a plan that has grace built into the plan. And Paul's talking about the fact that he just struggles with sin. We all struggle with sin. Now let me say this to you. Anyone who ignores the clear Bible teaching on the plan of salvation and comes up with their own plan is laboring under a system of self-justification. Now they may not believe it, they may not see it that way, but what else could it be when you ignore God's plan and come up with your own plan? Someone says, well, here's all you have to do. Because God's a gracious God, just repeat the sinner's prayer. Friends, please, let me ask you, could you tell me where to find the sinner's prayer? It's not there. Could you tell me how a person could become a child of God by reciting the sinner's prayer? You can't find it. Jesus said, and this is not the only requirement, but now listen closely. Jesus said, "He who believes and is baptized shall be saved. He who does not believe will be condemned." And someone says, you don't have to pay attention to that. Friends, people who act like that are laboring under a system of self-justification. Join us again tomorrow.